So my buddy Greg and I talked the other day, and he wants to start his own podcast. And he said, how do I get started? I don't even know how to get started. And I got started by downloading this app. There's an app called Anchor. It's purple. It's got a little, like a sound wave on it. I downloaded the app and I opened it up and it said, let's get started. What would you like to call your podcast? And you come up with a name. And it said, would you like to add art? So you need to have a picture or some art or whatever. Just some kind of picture. You don't want just a stupid egg icon or an outline silhouette. And it says, start now. Okay. There's things on here where you can get started. At the bottom here, there is a purple button that says Tools. And you tap on Tools, it brings up several little slidey things. You've got voice messages, record, library, interludes, sounds, and songs. Okay. The problem with using songs is a lot of that stuff is copyright protected. So if you start to do a podcast like I did, I incorporated some songs, and then at a certain point they asked me if I wanted to be monetized, and I was like, sure. I can't be monetized with the songs on there. So I have to either go in there and manually remove them or just give up my money on that. Now, on the messages, this works a couple of ways. Like people can send you a message if they also have the same app, and then their voice you can select that and then include it into the files. But if you just want to hit record, you can just hit record and talk and blah, 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 blah. This is my podcast. Y'all listen to me, blah, blah, blah. Then when it's done, you hit publish, and it's going to ask you for a name, and it's going to ask you for whatever. If you want to add sound bites, like let's just do an experiment one, okay? Let's just pretend like I'm hitting record, okay? You see the little timer going up, and it's calculating, and it's going, oh wow, we're recording his stuff, and blah blah blah. There's a little thing here that says add flag. I'm not exactly sure why you want to flag things, but maybe you said something that maybe you want to find later to take out. So you can flag it, and then when you look at your content later, you can go back to that one spot and then remove it. So I'm done talking, and I'm done my podcast. There we go, and I'm gonna hit stop. When I hit stop, it says, do you want to add background music? Now, some people do that. Again, copyright protection sort of solves the problem. But let's say I want to trim it. I can hit this little button on the left that says trim, or the one on the right that says save. I'm going to go to the one that says trim. Okay? On there, it lets you see your voice file that you just recorded. See how that looks? You can scroll it across, you can hit start, you can hit stop, you can save it, all that stuff. I'm just going to go ahead and save it because I don't want to trim anything. I'm going to hit save. Okay? Now I can hit save again on this purple screen. Save. And it says, this will be added to your episode, blah, blah, blah. Okay? I don't want to do that. It's trying to select a previous episode. I'm going to exit out of this. Anyway, my point is, when you go to publish it, it's going to say, what else would you like to do? Then you can go in here, delete recording. Then you can go down here and you can go into like the library, I mean not library, but interludes or sounds. I think sounds is where I get the cow from on mine, where it goes moo at the very end. I just hit the little plus sign on this side and that adds it in there. If you record something in another file, let's say I have this icon here, it's called voice memos. Okay, voice memos is just that, it's a voice recorder. It has a simple record button. You just hit record and then you talk into it and it records, and you see the little sound levels go up. You could have anything in there that you want. You could sing row, row, row your boat gently down the stream, and then save that, and it saves it as a file. Okay, now I gotta like save that as something, so I can click this little 1, 2, 3 on the side here, and I can edit the recording or I can share the recording. I want to hit share, and I can go down here and I can hit copy to Anchor. So I can tap that and copy it to Anchor. Boom. Now I can actually see that file in purple. It just opened my app automatically. Little wheel is spinning. It's loading. Once it's loaded, I can hit this little plus and add it as content. Now, where that's helpful is if I'm recording an Anchor and I'm doing a regular podcast from my app on my phone and someone calls me, I could potentially lose the entire conversation. That's a problem. Okay? If I'm going to use my phone now, I mean, me speaking nowadays, if I'm going to use my phone, I would select to not do that. I would instead do what I just showed you. Record it on voice memo and then move it over. Just because I can't figure out how to get people to stop calling me or texting me or interrupting the podcast. Now, some people have said, well, just put it on airplane mode and it'll keep people... No, I've tried that. Greg will tell you, we've tried that. We put it on airplane mode, we put it on do not disturb, all that stuff. Privacy, none of that. None of that affects it. It's supposed to, but it didn't because we lost content. So anyway, that's one way you can do it, okay? Then you just hit publish and it publishes. And it publishes on Anchor first, and then once that catches on, then possibly it goes to other platforms, okay? I think Anchor is the one that decides whether or not to cross-publish it. And it all has to do with if anybody's listening. So you want to, of course, grab that file and then share it to other files, and there's ways to do that. When you get to that step, let me know. But that's one way to do it using your phone, okay? You can also use GarageBand. I'm not super familiar with how to use GarageBand on my phone, although I am familiar with it on the computer. But any file where you can record your sound, you can then load up onto Anchor, and it'll publish it. And there you go. You got a podcast. Now, I will suggest that if you do that, create a separate email that is just for your podcast. Like if your podcast is named Purple Zebra, come up with an email that's purplezebra at whatever, Gmail or Yahoo or whatever. That way, whenever you're getting information about your podcast, it doesn't get lost in your regular email with all the other garbage junk mail, because you don't want to cross those lines. You kind of want to keep that stuff separate if you can. And, you then can communicate with your audience and with Anchor and with potential people to monetize through that one email. And that's separate from if you have like a weird email for home, like, Captain Fuzzy Boots or something. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not saying that's mine or yours, or, it's maybe coincidental, but just saying. So, something to think about. Create an email. Decide what name we're going to use. Get some kind of art or picture or something that you want to have. I took a picture of my face because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I was like, I smiled and took a picture. You don't overthink it. When you overthink it, you're just delaying the inevitable. That you're not going to follow through and do a podcast. Do a podcast. You might have something people want to listen to. What are you waiting on? I'm just saying, I'm throwing that out there. This is my invitation to you guys. Make it happen, Captain.